What's going on, guys? My name's Chris. Focus for me. Come on. Come on. There it is. And today we're talking about 5 crazy underrated JDM cars that you either haven't heard of or maybe you've never seen in real life. Either way, let's get started. Starting off at number 1, we have the Mistubishi 3000 GT and specifically the VR4 version. Now this car comes with some goods and some bads. The biggest thing that held this car back from being an iconic JDM that everyone talks about today is the weight, unfortunately. This car weighs 3,737 pounds, which is 500 pounds more than the similarly sized Corvette of that day, which is also why it was outperformed by a lot of these cars, muscle cars, tuner cars, Euro cars from around the whole world. Nonetheless though, this car had a twin-turbo V6 engine that could produce 320 horsepower, which is pretty respectable, especially at that kind of weight. If you're pushing all that car with that much horsepower, it still has some performance. Now the big thing that makes this car so exciting is for sure the look and the tunability of it. When they came out with this VR4 variant, they included those dark headlights, the crazy body styling and everything, and it's a car that has a lot of modability and is a classic like JDM looking car. If you think back to the Need for Speed games or anything like that, this Mitsubishi 3000 GT fits perfectly into that vibe, into that culture. Now again, going back to the performance of the car, unfortunately it just wasn't up to snuff compared to some of the other JDM tuners and some of the Euro and muscle cars from that era. They did race the car, but I don't think that's what this car was made for. It's a car that's a driver's car. It's not a race car. It's fun for street driving and tuning and stuff. It wasn't built for the track. But for its purpose, I think it's an insanely nice JDM car that has some performance and looks to match. So coming in at number 1, we have the Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4, one of the most iconic, underrated JDM cars of this era. Coming in at number 2, we have the Nissan Pulsar GTI-R. So how do you describe the Nissan Pulsar? Think of it like a go-kart sized Nissan Skyline almost, but it's a hatch. Now this car was very small in terms of size and weight, and it pushed 277 horsepower, meaning it was pretty respectable. That thing was zippy, it was literally like driving a go-kart. And with a 0 to 60 time of around 5 seconds, it was rivaling the Porsche 911 of the day, which is pretty crazy looking at the car, because again, kind of looks like a shopping cart with a steering wheel. Now, talking a bit more actually on the look of it, I personally love this car. I think it's super cool. It reminds me of like some of the old Hot Wheels or Matchbox cars I would get in the day. And it's one that's become super iconic. As I was doing some research into this car, people are really starting to get into it within the past few years here, and the prices are actually starting to go up. So if you're looking to get a Nissan Pulsar GTR or import one, now would be the time to do it, because prices, especially right now with COVID and everything, prices for all used cars are just going up. So coming in at number 2, we have the Nissan Pulsar GTI-R. Up next, and number 3 on our list, is the Toyota Supra Mark III. Now this is a car that's purely underrated because it got overshadowed by its younger brother, the Supra Mark IV, which is of course probably the most iconic JDM car today, maybe in line with the R34 Skyline, but that's why nobody really talks about this car. Again, the biggest thing that held this car back from being a crazy high-performing super JDM car is, again, like the Mitsubishi 3000 GT, it's the weight. It was a good bit heavier than similarly sized cars of that day. But that didn't stop Toyota from wanting to take this car on the track and see what it could do in terms of racing. Again, unfortunately, and another reason this car is so underrated is in the racing world, this car was put up against the R32 GT-R, the Nissan GT-R of that day, which absolutely outperformed it in terms of speed, weight, horsepower, torque, all that kind of stuff, and unfortunately it just couldn't compete. But I think what makes this car so great is it's a bit of a rarity these days, and it was only released in super dark, sleek colors. Most of it, I believe, was black on black, black wheels, black paint. So it's a car that you have to almost spot to really appreciate. And because of this styling and because it's been overshadowed by the newer Supra, I think it's actually a perfect definition of what an underrated JDM car should be. It's got that bit of performance, it's got the look, and it's got the culture around it that makes it that pure, underrated JDM car. I think there's no better definition on this list for them, actually. So, coming in at number 3, we have the Toyota Supra Mark III. Now, number 4, which has a similar fate, unfortunately, as number 3, is the Mazda RX-7 FC3S. Now again, like the previous car, this car is also one that's been overshadowed by its younger brother. The Mazda RX-7 FD, which is again the iconic one that we all know and love today. It was in the Tokyo Drift movie with the Veilside body kit, all that good stuff. And so this car gets forgotten a lot. Now, where this car really picked up popularity was actually in the drift scene, and it's due to the body styling of the car and the maneuverability of it, and so it got picked up in that community quickly. Now, it is underrated and has been for many years, but just this year it's really started to pick up in popularity. I don't know if it's COVID or like all of us being stuck inside for the past year basically, but some of these underrated cars are getting discovered and are just shooting up in popularity right now. The FC3S actually set a record this year for the highest and most expensive one ever sold, which was 63,000 USD at an auction earlier in 2021. So it just shows that these underrated JDM cars like this RX-7 are just creeping up now, and the popularity and the attention is finally coming around to it. Now, this car has a perfectly JDM look, I find. Again, it's got that 80s, 90s JDM look. The newer RX-7 is a bit curvier and has those wavier lines. This RX-7, the FC3S, is that boxier classic JDM look, which I really personally love, especially with some of the wide body kits and some of the body mods available out there for this car. I think it's an insanely good looking car. Another one with high tuning potential. This is maybe a cheaper option compared to the newer RX-7 if you're looking to get one. So coming in at number 4 is the Mazda RX-7 FC3S. Now, number 5, and probably the most unknown car on this list, is the Isuzu Piazza. Now, there was only 13,000 made in the entire world, and that's what makes this car so incredibly rare and unknown. And it was because Isuzu, which is now known today, especially in Europe, is for making big 18-wheeler trucks and kind of like pickup trucks and stuff like that. They really wanted to make a sports car to kind of compete with some of the hatchbacks of the day, like the Volkswagen GTI of the 80s, which this car actually took heavy inspiration from. Now, what makes this car exciting is honestly the affordability of it. Even back then, it wasn't very expensive, and today you can get these cars. Some people are buying them for a few $100s, and it's, again, a driver's car. It only has 147 horsepower, which is nothing impressive, especially compared to some of the other cars on this list, but it's a fun, underrated JDM car that really got no attention for its entire lifespan. And I really had searched for some underrated JDM cars online to find this one to put in this list. Now, the best way I can describe this car is it looks like the JDM DeLorean, if you can think of it that way. It's got that boxy look. It's almost like an AE86, but not quite, and definitely doesn't have the popularity of it. But it's another good alternative if you're looking for maybe a first JDM car, something fun to build that you're gonna enjoy. It's another driver's car, not a race or performance focused car. It's gonna be fun and you're gonna have a great time building it for cheap maintenance, cheap parts, and a good time. So the Isuzu Piazza is what's finishing out our list of the top 5 underrated JDM cars here. Now guys, that is gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna try and be posting at least one video per week. That's almost my New Year's resolution for this coming year. My TikTok has been doing really well, and so I want to transfer that success over here to YouTube. So if you haven't yet, go check out my TikTok, Instagram, everything. It's all the same name. It's Chris Manjuris, all one word. Right here, I'll leave all the links in the description. Also, if you're really into JDM and car culture clothing and you want to pick up yourself something nice, go to my website, apparelbyenemy.com. We make all kinds of car culture and JDM inspired clothes. I have new stuff coming out every few months, and so if you have any ideas for some merch you want to see, if you have a specific car you'd like put on a hoodie or a sweater or something like that, reach out to me on Instagram on that Apparel by Enemy Instagram. Give me some of your ideas. We have a great community over there and would love if you guys joined. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Lots of new videos coming soon, some JDM lists. I have lots of new stuff coming to the M5. It's wrapped up for winter right now, but I would like to do another full walk around just to kind of show you what I've done to my M5 and kind of the tuning and the mods coming to that very soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. You're the best. As always, my name is Chris. Thank you.